In a previous episode of Topics Off the Top, I talked about scandalous riders. And one of the more scandalous things that riders would do in the 90s would be to snake you for your markers. But there's a very big difference between being snaked for something and just outright jacked for it. And the difference is a person that's snaking you is just relying on your trust and they're abusing your trust versus a person that robs you, just walks up to you and takes stuff off your person. And getting jacked on the street in San Francisco is something that a lot of people in the city have experienced. And this was especially the case in the 90s, where robbery was one of the main things you had to worry about, and it was definitely one of the worst things about being a tagger at that time. I've talked about robbery fairly extensively on my TikTok, and I can tell you guys that there's certain places that you could go in the city and almost expect to get jacked. Cortlandt and Mission was definitely one of these places, and it was the taggers that were down there on Cortlandt and Mission doing the robbing. I knew some of the guys that were down there doing the robbing, and if there were certain people around, I get cut a pass. But I could expect friends of mine to jack me, and if I had markers on me, they were gonna consider it a good day to hit me for those markers and go use them afterwards. And I feel like each neighborhood that I would go visit and go bomb in had a tagger that was almost like the designated fool that robbed other taggers. And the homeboy K one day stepped to me and told me about hanging out with such a tagger. I don't know where this other dude is in his life now. I don't know if this is something he's ashamed of. I don't know if this is something he's proud of. I just don't know how he feels about it or if he's even alive. So I'm not gonna speak on his name, but people from around my way are gonna know who I'm talking about. This was a dude that was usually one deep, or he was usually with his brother, but no matter how many people he was with or how many people you were with, he would walk up to people very casually and just start tapping their pockets and ask them what they had. And the homeboy K felt that this was gonna happen to him when this dude stepped to him. But instead, they ended up kicking it, and for whatever reason, they went down to Fisherman's Wharf. And while Kate was just talking to this guy, this dude said, "Hey man, hold on a second," walked over to another kid and just started robbing him right there in broad daylight in a tourist area. And this was pretty typical behavior from what I saw from this dude. As long as you gave up the goods, he wouldn't hurt you. But it was rumored that this dude was carrying around a razor and would slice people who didn't give up the goods. And at the end of the day, people got robbed for all kinds of stuff in San Francisco and sometimes lost their lives. People got robbed for shoes, people were getting stripped for their clothes on Mission Street, fools would get jacked for starter jackets, so it makes sense that fools would get jacked for markers and get jacked for spray paint. And as a tagger in the late 90s, especially a younger dude, I can say we just carried around a lot of stress. And anytime we went outside, we had to worry about heroes, we had to worry about the police, we had to worry about running into family or people that were gonna tell our families what we were doing. But on top of this, we had to worry about robbers coming from our own side. And a dude might approach you, be all friendly, and walk away with your paint and walk away with your markers. And considering how hard to come by some of those things were, if you got jacked like this, it was just all the more painful of an experience.